can we uphold English's global influence while safeguarding the vitality of our local languages? How can language become more than words, a bridge between cultures, hearts, and lived experiences? And how can it turn distant dreams into lived realities? Gikan sa pinulongan, padulong sa kalibutan. I am Tubo, and this is KatuTUBOng Mindanao. Language. It's more than just words. It's the rhythm of our thoughts, the echo of our past, and the voice of who we are. It ties the learner to discovery, the teacher to purpose, and the community to its roots. Yet, it can also divide, confuse, and challenge us when the words we need don't always exist in the tongue we know. Across Mindanao, classrooms become crossroads where cultures and languages meet. Some students learn best in the words of home, their inahan na pinulungan, while others struggle to bridge the gap between the familiar and the foreign. Teachers stand in the middle of this linguistic balancing act, shaping lessons that must speak to every learner. And beyond the walls of the classroom, our daily conversations, whether in Bisaya, Tagalog, English, or Blaan, tell stories of identity, change, and survival. But what happens when languages collide? When the mother tongue meets English in the same classroom, or when tradition faces the demands of a modern world? In every word spoken, taught, or forgotten, there is a story waiting to be heard. A story of how language shapes the way we learn, how we teach, and how we understand one another in a land of many voices. In this segment, we uncover how language shapes learning, teaching, and life in Mindanao. From the voices of students finding confidence in their mother tongue, to the teachers translating lessons between worlds, and the communities keeping our many languages alive. Because in every word we speak, we find who we are and who we are becoming. Join our team as we delve into the intricate social and cultural fabric of 𝕒𝕒 IP Integrated School in Malandag, Sarangani, a community nestled in the highlands known for its rich indigenous heritage and close-knit learners, where students take pride in their culture, balancing traditional values with modern education.
Wow, balong!
Baka naman sulod mo.
Sulod mo.
Ang charming.
Kaya video ko ha.
Picture gani sila gikan sa
Dito ka dapit sa mo.
Wait lang, diri sa
Kajut lang man daw nga pag murag ilaha kang
Ay, sorry.
i-capture kung paano ka mag-deliver of English lesson sa mga IT na learners. So mga maski pila ka minutes sir? 5 minutes lang or sa ba? Ay, dili mo
Opo, dili lang kami makadistorbo po.
Ano na ibig sabihin yan? People? The vacuum. Okay, dato kundi komunidad. Very good. Mga tao na nasa komunidad. Okay, kagaya dito sa okay. So yung mga tour guys, galoy mo buhay na to, kuno kayo la? Kuno kayo la busngi? Okay, so dalo yung mabudalo. Edad to, Bisar, no?
Natuturo yan.
May mag-awal. Kung sila lang sige.
Elder talaga. So, si Elder, so meron kami 27 elders na nagkakaroon ng immersion dito. So, beads making, malong creation, arts and crafts, agriculture, carpentry, cookery. So, iba't ibang tao yun sila. Pati yung musical instrument, pati padulong and playing. So, pumapasok yun dito. Kasi before the implementation of IKSP, yun siya yung parang nalilito sila.
Indigenous knowledge.
IKSP.
Oh.
Indigenous knowledge systems.
Isa.
So yun siya, hindi siya na. Pero si mother tongue, although nawala siya sa subject, pero hindi siya pwedeng iwala sa mga iPads as na 100%. Almost 100%.
Ginagamit na.
Oo. Kasi dito, hindi lamang yung communication ang na-develop dito sa school na ito. Lahat, pati ang cultural development dito pa rin siya. So kung magpunta kayo doon sa museum, ang ibang bata namin is andun sa museum. Kasi may bisita, Fort Laffy.
Meron na
So,
sir na
so naa sila yung flalok. Ito ang flalok is Blaan stories integrated in the lesson. So, when you said integration, instead na gagamit ka noong mga stories which is hindi yun ma-westernized, hindi yun siya masyadong ng bata. Gumagamit dito ng mga validated books, lalo.
So, yung mga Plalok stories are also from elders kasi mga validated yan siya, mga authentic yan siya. So, kami na teacher, as Harold, parang ako, writer mo din ako ng Plalok. So, yun, kami ang nag-write ng kanilang gina-story. So, storyteller sila, writer lang sila. So, dito, good kasi ginabalik mo nila sa community. So, dito sa Lambi ko, meron tayong 72 nga big books na ginagamit ng grade 1 and grade 2. Yeah. Oo.
Nagya po ng mga business.
Efo. Kaya ano siya? Okay, ano man siya ng karang tawag, yun siya, naka-file. Oo, nandoon. Kasi ano yan siya, tawag dito, published na siya by the DepEd Region Sub, in partnership Claffy and USA. May laki lang may tanan mong good na halos mga research dito sa amo. Pero ginabalik man nila sa amo. Para sari, Gikan man na diri ang iban nga mga storyteller, ginabalik na nila sa amo.
Ano dyan dapat bring back to the community?
Ang may-ari nito is community man din. Hindi man pwede nga si writer lang ang may-ari niyan, community good. Kaya maghinog na may general maray kung baga international language sa Blaan.
Ay, kana.
Sa KWI.
Standardized
Siya nga, tanan na represented ta ng municipality of province.
Hindi naman lahat ng bata talaga, although Blaan sila, pero some of the learners galing sa ibang area.
Oo.
For example, may mga bata kami dito na pagdating nila dito is
From Manila.
Meron kami mga bata na bumalik sa dito, but from Manila. So, ang nangyayari, instead na sila yung maka-influence, sila na yung na-influensyahan ng lahat.
Mga speaker na sila
So,
ngayon.
speaker na sila ngayon.
Ito, ano na sa 1 month to 2 months.
1 month to 2 months, na-learn na nila communication.
May mga Ilonggo man kami dito, pero speaker din sila ng Laan. Kaya parang ma-consider mo na 100% sila na user ng language.
Pero kung tatanungin mo sila ko sa bawa Bisaya o Ilonggo,
Kasabot na.
nakakaintindihan ko ito. Unlike in other schools sa mga part lang talaga, kung Blaan talaga, pati ang communication nyo. Pero dito, multilingual.
Okay lang mga bata namin dito kay siyempre electricity nandito na naga-YouTube permanente. So wala kayong problem.
Mga classrooms namin, naka-smart.
Tapos mga kahit cellphone hindi na yan.
Mga by building, naka-link internet.
TV niya kayo.
Tapos, Starlink ang ginagamit namin.
Starlink.
Starlink na internet connection.
Kami kay from kinder to grade 10 may TV talaga kami the same.
Dahil yun siya kay
Matatag.
matatag.
Kami man kasi ang iPad implementing yung pilot school, sir, no? Isa kang
Pilot
sa
schools.
Pilipinas.
Out of
Sa kami
35 schools na nag-implement ng enhanced K-12 na pangalan nila ngayon. Kami yung mas nauuna kaysa sa iba. Nauna
Pilot
35
kasi
schools ng buong Pilipinas. Isa sa kami yung ginastudyhan. So kung anong request namin, sabi namin, gusto namin lang, kailangan namin ng smart TV. Kailangan namin ng ito.
Bigay.
Kailangan namin ng internet connection, mahina. Kasi
Starlink.
Kailangan namin ng laptop kasi bigay sila ng 46 units na laptop.
Let's proceed. Dancers! Dancers! Oh, dito sway ha? Sway! Sway! Tara, to. Lahat? Lingag ha? Okay. Oh, ready? Sing! Oh, walang ikaw, yegunda, walang ikaw, alibot, dudupapaw. Tayo sa galikat na
As culture bearers, kamo ang murag next generation. Unsa pud ang inyong, let's say, if matagaan mo og opportunity to speak, for example, sa city about sa inyong culture, sa man inyong gusto ipahimamat.
For me po, why would I be shy to my own blood and culture na diri man ko nagdako. Diri pud gikan akong clan and kanang ma-inspired ko gud sila. I'm gonna talk about how our culture started and how other daan people nga success sila sa ilang kinabuhi nga amon sini ang ilang panginabuhi.
For me personally, I should not be embarrassed about my ethnicity. Kasi as a half-blooded daan, ako na to we have different perspective about different individuals. That's why we are called individuals for a reason. Pero kasi, discriminating a certain ethnicity or other ethnicities is not right. Hindi ho yan ikakabuti ng isang tao. Halimbawa, kung i-discriminate mo yung daan, may makukuha ka ba riyan? Wala, diba? So, it is really essential for us to promote, us Baan people to promote our cultures, not only to foster our future generations, but to also to encourage others to not be embarrassed about our ethnicity.
Ako wala ang pagkablaan ko kay kung wala po din mo yung kablaan mo kumbaga na wala po kasi yung sarili culture.
Kaya nga po nang sinabi nila Mera at saka ni Deb na kailangan pa talaga namin ipagmalaki yung kultura naming Blaan. Kasi kung malaki ka na, kung nasa senior high school ka na, pwede mo tong balita ba sa kanila na yung ang Blaan yung kultura namin. Na yung kultura namin ay isang magandang kultura.
Hindi ko po ikakaya yung pagiging Blaan ko po dahil dito po ako pinalaki. At thankful ako kasi dito ako pinalaki.
What if naay Blaan nga blood pero dili siya kabalo ng Blaan? How would you inspire that person?
Tuturuan ko po siya ng Blaan para tapos papakita ko rin yung mga ginagawa po ng mga Blaan para siya ma-inspire po
may ganyo.
May ganyo ba? Tapos ma-inspire rin siya na mag-aral pa tungkol sa Blaan.
Blaan culture is really interesting for me personally. So, hihikayatin ko talaga sila na magbalik sa kultura. Considering that it is something that they should be proud of. Kasi as an inspiring student, kaka-transfer ko lang ho kasi this year sa school natin. So learning Blaan is really interesting for me. I am overwhelmed by the excessive activities that the school is conducting related sa Blaan. So I would really promote Blaan culture to them. So kung if ever man na ma-reach ko yung panahon na maging fluent ako sa Blaan in terms of language, tuturuan ko talaga sila.
Akong istoryahan sila kung Blaan para masanay sila kung giingon mapod madungog kung sa kumaingon madungog nila tapos ilang istorya. Tapos akong i-translate para kung unsa akong giingon para makabalas.
Tuturuan ko po sila Blaan para marunong po sila at para mainganyo.
I am proud to be Blaan. Proud to be Blaan.
As part of this journey, our team visited the museum to learn more about the Blaan culture. We explored the community's history, traditions, and way of life, offering a deeper view into a heritage that continues to be preserved today.
Sanina, morning sa among mga lula pa ni.
Kung 100 years
Kaya ang kahin is 14 pa lang siya, o 12 years old pa lang siya. Kanya karon
Ay, 12 years old niya gitahi.
tahi.
Agi-weave.
yung gitahin niya o gilig niya. Karon kay namatay naman sila, sobra naman sa 100. Siguro may ko sobra 100 pa niya.
Pero dire ara sa
Dili na siya sa
sa
community.
Malipaw.
Di lang yapon tanan, di rin siya gikuha. Ang kanila ang nalahi ka na o malapatan.
Malapatan.
Kung nakita ang sa malapatan, ang inyong sana, murag nagapaana ilang nagapurba ilang.
Kung nagkanang kanay Muslim nga
Naasay ang Muslim pa lang.
na inspiration. So ang kanay sa kay
Blaan din siya. Mo ang sablaan nga design.
naay ka na ano na kadawra history nga kung ang mga blaan din sa Malipaw like sila una na.
Asa sila gikan.
Oh.
Ang akong nabalaan kay murag dire yun ni sila.
Kaya
Siguro
di ba ang uban may man kay gikan sa dagat-dagat tapos nanaka.
amo kung sir kay bukid man jud ang among
Tapos diri sa inyo ha.
Dili gyud.
Bukid din.
Oo, kay ang blaan ug ang Muslim man gud sa una magsuon, babae daw ang sa Muslim, lalaki ang sa blaan. Mao na ang Muslim pag sa una nga panahon ang Muslim dili sila pwede mag-away kay magsuon.
Muslim sa blaan.
Magsuon sila, anak gud. Sa sila na. Pero akong nabalaan ani, ang blaan is daghan man gud ang blaan, dili man gud parehas sa Tiboli nga. Ang Tiboli pag mointog Tiboli Lake Cebu,
Mo na ito
sila na ginaniha.
Mo na ito tanan.
Ang blaan dahil sa Davao del Sur,
Oh.
naa sa Rangang Province, naa sa Columbio, naa sa dili sa Jensan, murag katagod, wala lang ko kabalo, asag gud sila gikan kay murag tanan naman nga lugar na man ang blaan. Oo, tanan
Yung moto nga ang mga sinultian kay naay naglahi-lahi.
lahi.
Naay version nga
Oo. Ay saglan ka ug sa Margos lahi po sa sinultian pero naman gud sa amoa ang ilang sinultian pag dingon ka nga bali dito sa ilang bali is kanang balay. Ang sa amoa man ang bali diri nga side kay gumno. Gumno ang diri. Tapos ang bali sa amoa is kanang panus. Kanang panus ang kanon.
Oh, yeah.
Tabalik na anay panus na ng kanon anak go.
Tapos larid to kay ang
Ang bali
balay.
kay balay. Oo, naagit sila
Yung panos sila hanay.
ambot mo kabalo. Kaya lahi mo diyang sinultian.
Lagi.
Pero usahay makasinabot.
Pagkasinabtan na rapod kung magsugat-sugat ba.
Ang ginapangutan na ganas mo kung naalagyapon ng among dialect na naalagyapon sa dis sa lamli pa 100% din makain ko ang among tinultian nga blaan. Kung anong yapon. Ginagamit
yun.
Ginagamit lang yapon.
Yan natin Bisaya kay para na yung mga bisita.
Mga teacher mo gutin anong anak teacher mo diha no. Ang iyang anak sa una ginabinsiya na mo. Karon nagdako na. Tapos nagblaan, ang gabi mo hinuon magbisaya, nagblaan na hinuon, bisag asa mo mabot, blaan din na siya.
Ano jud? Ano jud?
Sa kutsaon nimo kay siyempre kang dili nimo na i-educate mo bata sa imong tinultian.
Oh.
Wala man.
Wala man.
Ano ingon ako, dili ta makaingon karon nga kita. Nagtudot sa mga anak mo, dili ta maglaan jud ta. Kay
Balag na isagol.
bahalag na isagol basta maglaan jud makasabot kay ang akong mga apo diha. So pangutan mo nagblaan, tubag.
Bisaya.
Tubag.
Tagalog.
Tagalog, makatubag.
Mag-English.
Kabalo po.
Upat na.
Basta,
Happy.
magaingon ako ang blaan.
Bright jud na.
Bright jud.
Bright jud. Ano jud?
Bright jud ha. Ano pa ka bright ano? Wala hatag na sa mga libro. Habi sa kay Gikan pa na kay Ma'am Marian na ang tarang ng tribo na mo diya. Mga gaya. Kani diri.
May mo na ni kanang warag. Is na may design mo pwede mo.
Kani flalok katong storytelling na.
Ay katong flalok
Ani
dai.
si Fiwe og si Sawe anak good katong dautan nga anak og bubutan nga anak ko ano siya. Fiwe og Sawe.
Fiwe. Asa ni pagbasa na? Edad.
Edad Flao Fiwe Dimbulan. Ang mga ang ginatambag ni Fiwe, yung Fiwe maayo nga anak sa iya sa bulan daw. Sa bulan kay bulan man bulan. Bulan man na.
Nya kanang sa design na so nang pagkailhan nga. Dili mapareha sa ubang tribo ko.
Kami naami mga kani man gud kay gikuha ning mga itik pattern sa uban nga kuan. Ang amua naamo gyud ubang blaan karon nga bisag sa tiboli nga design ginagamit na nila. Pero
wala o dili kanang kaso man tayo.
wala lang ko kabalo sa ila kay naanggoy nga na mo pud ginapanan sila nga dili sila magduo. Pero sa mua dili sa Malungon pagblaan ka di ana ka sa blaan magpuan kay mao man na among gisunod katong naa sa amin kana naman unya pag kung tiboli ka dito na lang ka sa puan kay amo ana ay nag-inquire sa paimo sa kan tiboli ana siya sa puan ana pud ko dili ko maghimo tiboli dapat kamo kung asa tong tiboli dito ug taga Kaulo kay ang tribo man sa
Kaulo kay
Malungon taga Kaulo ang blaan tapos kung gusto niyo sa taga Kaulo dito mo sa taga Kaulo tapos kung sa blaan dili mo sa Mulo dili ko pwede maghimuan masana kay na may tribo
wala ganyan
mali among mga kuan sa
kani
ay kani dikit mama
Pila na ni kadlaw? Pila kadlaw ni matapos isa ka kung para sa amon ni isa ka padulong. Halong. Duha kadlaw, okay, dali na lang no.
pag ko
Mayo ko.
Few malo go.
Mayo ko batasan.
Mayo.
Kami linguistic major may nabalaan na mo na ang blaan lang isa sa mga language sa Pilipinas na gagamit og F.
Dagan eh.
Bong Kafio Falal Namnifao.
Language, education, and culture. Three forces that intertwine to shape identity. The Blaan people in Sarangani are proof that language is not merely a medium of instruction, but a living vessel of memory, belonging, and survival. In classrooms where English and Filipino increasingly dominate, the Blaan mother tongue carries stories, values, and ways of knowing that formal policies often overlook. As education shifts under changing mandates, the Blaan experience reminds us that learning is most powerful when it speaks the language of the learner, honors cultural roots, and allows identity to grow rather than fade. In today's globalized world, the Philippines increasingly engages with international communities beyond the English-speaking sphere. One significant example is Japan, a country with deep economic, educational, and cultural ties to the Philippines. As interest in Japanese language learning continues to grow among Filipinos, a critical question emerges. What happens when Japanese, learned in the classroom, is applied to real-life situations? Language learning often emphasizes structure, like grammar patterns, honorific systems, and vocabulary memorization. However, Japanese is not merely a linguistic system. It is a language deeply embedded in social hierarchy, cultural expectations, and contextual sensitivity. When Filipino learners attempt to use Japanese in authentic settings, whether in work, study, or everyday interaction, they often encounter challenges that go beyond linguistic accuracy. These challenges include navigating levels of politeness, understanding implicit communication, managing silence, and interpreting social cues that are not explicitly taught. This gap between formal instruction and lived application reveals that learning Japanese is not simply about speaking correctly, but about communicating appropriately within a culturally structured society. So sit back and let us listen to the story of Francesca Kawase, whose experiences reveal the realities of using language beyond formal learning.
What motivated you to start learning the Japanese language?
I was just interested in the language. I loved watching anime, and then I found interest in learning it.
What was the reason for going to Japan?
I wanted to know more about Japan and see how it really is in real life.
Aside from paying attention in your Japanese classes and school, what strategies or methods did you use to help you understand and learn Japanese more effectively?
I had two things. First was trying to watch anime without any subtitles, even if I didn't understand anything. And the other one was using online platforms where I can talk to other Japanese speakers.
Which aspect of the Japanese language did you find most difficult? grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation, or the writing system? And can you tell us why?
I still have a problem with kanji even up until now because the reading changes according to which kanji it is next to, so I find it hard to learn.
Your background in the Japanese language, especially when you were still a student here at Gikan.
Can you tell us more about your
Tell us more.
experience?
In my opinion, coming from Philippine Nikijinka International School, it wasn't really as detailed compared to my learning in the agency because I had other subjects at that time. While when I was in the agency that I studied Japanese, Nihongo was my only subject, so I could really focus on it.
Subject to your education in Nikijinkai.
I think compared to Nikijinkai, they were more competitive when it came to learning because in Philippine Nikijinkai, it was just like you were usually grouped with people with the same level. And then when I was in my agency, there were a lot of comparisons between like students, and there were also ranking of which students were best at Nihongo.
After learning Japanese, what major differences did you notice between Filipino and Japanese communication styles?
I think Japanese people really change their way of speaking according to who they are speaking to. For example, when they're speaking to people who have position higher than them, then they speak more formal. While in the Philippines, it's usually casual speaking all the time.
When you were back in Japan, which style did you apply in Japanese?
I was usually around my friends a lot, so up until now, I'm still comfortable with like speaking casual Japanese. But when I'm around my workmates, I usually use the formal Japanese.
Was there a particular situation where you struggled with Japanese cultural norms or communication cues? How did you adjust and cope up with it?
I think my biggest struggle was how indirect Japanese people are when it comes to saying no. Because as a Filipino, I was used to saying no directly, but in Japan, they were like, I'm not really sure. They usually reply with that, so it gave me a hard time.
So, medyo pakipot pa. So, when you're having trouble communicating, who do you ask for help?
I usually just use the dictionary because my mind was set at like a survival setting. I was relying just by myself, so I couldn't ask anybody else. My problems were usually about reading.
Reading.
Yes, but communication was okay for me.
When you first arrived in Japan, how useful was your Japanese in everyday situations?
When I first arrived in Japan, it was not even an hour and I was blocked at the immigration. And the immigration officer didn't know any English. So I had no choice but to speak and argue in Japanese while struggling in Japanese.
So how did you manage to do it?
I actually used the dictionary a lot, but it was really hard because not only was mine blocked, but also my friends. So I had to argue for my situation and for his situation.
Did you experience any culture shocks related to language use, such as honorifics, indirect communication, or workplace etiquette?
Yeah, it was usually just about the indirect replies that I had problems with, and I think that I also had a hard time understanding their pronunciation because I lived in Osaka, which has a different dialect from the usual Nihongo that is taught in books. So it made things harder for me.
What kind of Japanese did they teach you? The Osakan dialect, or what you learned from them?
They only taught me basic Nihongo. So when I went to Osaka, I had no idea what Kansai dialect was. And it made it harder for me because in my work, I was usually with older people. So it was not only Kansai dialect, but also words that were only used a long time ago. So it made things even harder for me. I relied on body language a lot, and I also asked my workmates if I don't know anything.
And they teach you the Kansai
In my agency, they didn't teach me Osaka dialect, but when I moved to Japan in Osaka, they started teaching me Kansai dialect.
Can you recall a moment when you thought, good thing I know Japanese? Can you share a moment when your Japanese language skills made interacting with locals easier?
I got lost in the train station. I was supposed to stop at, like, for example, I was at train station 1. I was supposed to stop there, but I ended up missing 8 stations because I was using my phone. So, and I had no access to my data at that time. So the only thing I could do was communicate to get back home.
What role or work did you take on in Japan, and how essential was Japanese for that role?
I was actually like a part-time assistant for caregivers, but I was just in the canteen preparing their food. It's a work where I get to communicate with Japanese people daily, so I think it improved my communication a lot.
So, how did your coworkers or supervisors evaluate or react to your language ability?
Before me, 2 of my senpais are also Filipino, but the problem was they weren't really good at speaking. So when me and my roommate came to our facility, they had no expectations at all. And we even faced racism during that time because
Racism?
yes, we were told that when we started speaking Japanese and we were good in communicating, one of my workmates told me, "Oh, I didn't think you were Filipino because you were good in Japanese." So I also didn't know how to respond at that time.
How about in your speaking in Nihongo? Do they criticize and discriminate you when they heard you speaking in?
In my case, my pronunciation is actually good in Japanese, so I didn't have much problem with that. But my senpais do have that Filipino accent into their Japanese, so some Japanese coworkers often laugh about it.
Have you ever used a Japanese expression or word incorrectly? How did the people around you react? How did you correct yourself?
I once talked to someone for the first time and used a very impolite Japanese, and she reacted very weirdly, and at that moment I didn't know why, because I used the word omae instead of anata. So I didn't know at that time that it was very casual, and it was our first time meeting each other, so she reacted very differently. They both mean you in English, but omae is usually when very casual, and it's only heard during anime and not in day-to-day situation. It's also used during when you're scolding someone or when you're angry at them.
What did you learn about yourself as a Filipino while learning a foreign language like Japanese?
I think that Filipinos are very good in learning languages because, as I observed in my past school, it was usually Filipinos that were very good at communicating, while other people were just good in writing or listening, but Filipinos were very good at communicating.
From what age did you notice that? Like, were they really good when they were younger, not older?
I was often told that me and my roommate we only have like 2 years gap, and we were often told that we think you learn Nihongo faster because you guys are younger. And I can also see that pattern among other learners, that it's usually the young people that are better in learning first. So I think I started when I was 14, but I only started learning it seriously when I turned 18.
In your experience, what helped you understand not only the Japanese language, but also the Japanese culture more deeply?
I think it was seeing how their day-to-day works best in real life made me understood them better.
If you could restart your learning journey, what would you do differently?
I should have paid more attention into learning kanji because now, although I can read, I am not that good in writing.
What advice would you give to Filipinos who want to learn Japanese and use it while living in Japan?
I think it's also best if you study how they pronounce words because in my experience, Filipinos are often misunderstood because of their pronunciation because some words are similar but they have different meanings, so when they mispronounce it, they get weird looks from Japanese people.
And do you use the English language as your bridge to communicate?
Yes, actually, among my roommates, not my roommates, my workmates, they found me as a great opportunity to practice their English on. So while I was practicing my Japanese on them, they were also practicing their English on me.
Wow. A mutual exchange.
Yes.
What was the learning process?
Everything about
Compared to the Gikan?
I started looking for agencies after I graduated senior high school. I first looked for scholarships, but it didn't work out for me. Their standards were too high compared to my Japanese skills at that time. So I opted for looking for agencies instead. And then I found my agency, which was Hikari Language School. And then I applied and got in. But before I was chosen to go to Japan, they had to choose between 14 participants, and I was one out of the 3 that were chosen. In Nikijinkai, we were usually taught directly with dialogue, while in my agency, they made me understood the proper usage of grammar or where nouns should be placed, so they were more detailed. And we also had tests for everything, tests for vocabulary, for listening, and we even had interview in Japanese. In my overall language in Nihongo, they helped more in culture rather than the language itself because they weren't that detailed while I was learning. Because they only teach in Nikijinkai about how good Japan is, but when I was in Japan, I was culturally shocked because I also thought about good things only, but then in a span of especially during Christmas, in a span of 1 month, I got stalked for 3 times. So that wasn't a really good experience for me.
How did language learning, like learning Nihongo, change your life as time passed?
I think I became more of a risk taker because before I was very conscious of my Nihongo speaking skills, but after I started learning Nihongo more, I learned that fearing something won't make me a better person. So I took risk and started speaking even if I knew that my grammar was wrong. And now I think that was one of the reasons why I am better at communicating.
Can you say that learning the culture helped you in learning the language?
Yes, definitely, because I learned that I should not be too direct with how I say things because they might be scared. Because one time I said no directly. I became the talk of our facility, so that was also a great experience to learn from.
Today's conversation reminds us that learning a language is more than memorizing rules. Dili ni grammar lang. Real learning happens when language is used with people, in real situations, and in real conversations. You can be grammatically correct, but if the timing, tone, or context is off, lisod gihapon siya sabton. Language is not just about what we say, but how and why we say it. So, the lesson is simple. Language learning should be holistic. Learn the words, yes, but also learn the culture, the pauses, and the meaning behind them. Kaysa tinuod lang ang pinulongan, buhi. And when we learn it well, it helps us connect, not just communicate. The Philippines has increasingly become a meeting point for individuals from diverse linguistic and cultural backgrounds. Beyond English and Filipino, many foreigners who live, work, or study in the country find themselves engaging with local languages, such as Bisaya, in order to establish more meaningful connections with the communities around them. As interest in learning Philippine languages among non-Filipinos continues to grow, an important question emerges. What occurs when a local language, learned informally or in fragments, is used in everyday community life? Language learning is often perceived as the acquisition of vocabulary and basic grammatical structures. However, Bisaya, like many local languages, is deeply embedded in cultural norms, shared histories, and social relationships. For foreign learners, acquiring Bisaya involves more than just selecting the correct words. It requires understanding humor, expressions of respect, indirect communication, and the rhythm of daily social interaction within the community. When learners attempt to use Bisaya in real-life contexts, such as conversing with neighbors, forming friendships, or participating in community activities, they often encounter challenges that extend beyond pronunciation or grammar. These challenges include adapting to local idiomatic expressions, interpreting culturally specific behaviors, navigating misunderstandings, and confronting moments when ideas cannot be fully articulated. Such experiences highlight the gap between knowing a language and living it within its social and cultural context. Come and let's explore these realities. Our last segment turns to the experiences of Mason Matney, whose journey of learning Bisaya in the Philippines provides valuable insight into the complex intersection of language, culture, and community in everyday communication.
Why Bisaya? Among all other languages here in the Philippines or in Mindanao, why Bisaya?
That's a great question. I think it comes back to why Davao. I got the chance to visit Davao in 2023 when I was a student, and the people of Davao had a really big impact on me. I had a big desire to come back and live full-time in Davao, do the work that I get to do in Davao, which really is centered around interacting with people, and specifically students. And so to speak Bisaya really helps me to connect on a deeper level with the students that I'm working with, the people in the city that I'm building relationships with. And here in the Philippines, Bisaya is a very versatile language. So there's a lot of Bisaya speakers in the Philippines.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I saw that as a really good opportunity for me to get more connected with the Philippines as a whole.
So that 2023 trip, what is that about?
Yeah, so I was involved with the organization that I now work for full-time while I was a student at Kansas State University back in the US. And I was able to participate in a culture exchange program here in Davao, where students from universities all over the Midwest in America were able to come here for 6 weeks during the summer of 2023 to experience university student life in the Philippines, and specifically get connected with some of the universities in Davao, and that was really impactful for me. Right now, at this point in my language learning process, my only source of language learning is a private tutor at this point. I found that the combination of having a classroom setting and in that type of an environment for language learning, specifically at USEP, was a phenomenal foundation for my Bisaya learning. And so because of that, I was given a lot of the tools to understand the grammar and some of the technicalities of the Bisaya language that I can apply on my own and be able to learn at my own pace in the private tutor settings. And so the combination of the two has been really helpful for me.
As a foreigner with a different cultural background, how did it feel to start learning Bisaya for the first time?
That's a really good question. I think as a foreigner, I came into the Philippines feeling like an outsider in a lot of ways. And so I remember when I had first landed in the Philippines and I did not speak any Bisaya. I remember when I was interacting with people in the city, when I was walking around in public, I definitely felt like more of an outsider. And so I think that as soon as I started to learn Bisaya and really understand the language, and specifically getting to be a part of the classroom setting in USEF, it made me start to feel like more and more of an insider in the culture and in the community, which I think has gone so far in helping me to actually enjoy my time in the Philippines, go deep in friendships and relationships with people in the city. And so the biggest thing that learning Bisaya has helped me with is going from being an outsider to being an insider and actually being integrated with the community in a lot of ways.
No. So, what were the biggest adjustments you experienced when you first interacted with Bisaya people?
That's a great question, yeah. I think that one of the biggest adjustments was realizing that there's not a one-to-one translation between English and Bisaya.
Yeah.
And that's probably how it is for all languages.
Yeah, definitely.
And so I had to let go of the idea in my head that I would be able to translate one-to-one from English and express that same idea just by picking and plugging the right Bisaya words in the same places. That was not going to work. And so I also started to realize that the way people can express themselves in Bisaya, it can cover a different range of feelings, sensations, emotions than you can actually express in English.
Which aspects of Bisaya were the most challenging for you?
I think Bisaya for native English speakers is, some people would say, one of the more difficult languages to learn. And so I think one of the difficulties was understanding the grammar at first. There are a lot of nuances to Bisaya grammar that there's not really great resources available online in order to learn them. And so it's all just from exposure. And so I think one of the difficulties in learning Bisaya is that you really need to be immersed in order to learn it effectively. And it's hard to find the right resources online. That also kind of adds a fun element where you actually have to become part of the community in order to learn it well. Additionally, I think pronunciation in some ways took some adjusting. As we talked about in class at USEP so many times, English, at least American English, is so much more round in the pronunciation, and Bisaya is very gahi. And so, yeah, that was an adjustment for me to learn. Those are a couple of the things that were challenging.
How did people in Davao adjust or accommodate you when you were still learning the language?
Oh, I cannot imagine learning a language anywhere else because the people in Davao, Dabueños, Filipinos, are probably the most welcoming people in the world. And so, yeah, it was funny. The very first weeks and months that I was learning Bisaya, if I was speaking with one of my friends, I could use one Bisaya word and they would be so happy and say, "Oh, you're fluent, you're so good." And so people were extremely welcoming, extremely encouraging to me in my language learning process. And they did a really good job of just making me feel like I could try, mess up, it was okay. People would be very patient with me, help me to understand along the way. Everybody feels really excited to have me learning their language. So I thought that was very, very kind of everybody, especially compared to America. I feel like my eyes were opened because in America, the perspective is if you're going to be in America, you should just learn English. It's hard to learn a language. And so I'm so grateful for my Filipino friends in my life, the people of Davao, the people of the Philippines for being so patient, so welcoming when I'm learning your guys' language. Yeah, so many of my friends would teach me specific words, even like help me to pronounce properly. Also, my friends would be really, really patient when I would mess up. They wouldn't make fun of me or get angry at me or be impatient. And they would, even when they're speaking, they'll slow down their speech so that they know I can understand it. That was so helpful for me.
How do you handle conversations when you don't understand certain Bisaya words or expressions?
It's a great question. I think that some of my friends in the Philippines, my tutors and teachers, have helped me to add different, what we would call tools to my bag in order to ask follow-up questions, enable me to learn Bisaya using Bisaya. And so, for example, my tutors have helped me understand different questions that I could ask to follow up if I don't understand a phrase someone used. For example, "Unsay pasabot ana?" or "Unsay pasabot sa?" and then re-quote what they just said if I'm unfamiliar. And I feel like that has been really helpful. And then also I've been carrying around a journal or a note on my phone where if I learn or hear something for the first time, I can write it down, and that helps to solidify it in my memory.
Has anyone become your go-to person whenever you need help with vocabulary or grammar, aside from your private tutor?
One thing that's probably unique about the Philippines that I'm really grateful for is that I feel like I can ask anybody, even just people I've never met before, out in public. I can ask questions and people will be really happy to help me. So.
What cultural differences did you notice that affected the way Bisaya is used in daily conversations?
I think Bisaya is much more contextual than English. English is very specific and precise, and it's less context-based. And so the way I would express something in English is very, very specific. And there's one meaning that my sentence can have. Whereas in Bisaya, it's heavily reliant on the context in order to understand the meaning. At least as an outsider trying to learn, that's how it feels to me. In English, we have, for example, 5 different words that could mean the same one thing. But in Bisaya, there's one word that can mean 5 different things. I think that is probably one of the differences. I think it can definitely be difficult at first, but it also comes in handy because it makes learning the language a lot simpler over the long run.
Yeah.
Because I need way less vocab. I just need to have a better grasp of each of them.
How about differences in politeness or directness, humor or emotion? Did you notice any differences?
Yes, definitely. I think Filipinos are much more polite, and so terms of respect, terms of honor, and this is, I believe, Tagalog, but saying po, Ian, is, term of respect. We don't have an equivalent of that in English. Kuya, ate, things like that, terms of respect for older people, I think are also a differentiating factor. Another thing that I think I've had to realize, it doesn't necessarily translate across a language barrier, and this isn't just Bisaya, but this is many languages, is some elements of humor like sarcasm. Sarcasm is hard to translate across the language barrier sometimes.
Yeah.
As well as figurative speech. And so in English, we have so many different figures of speech where we'll say one thing that does not literally mean what we say. It's representative of some other idea. And the figures of speech in Bisaya are completely different. So that may not translate very well. And again, it goes back to there's no one-to-one translation from English to Bisaya.
How has learning Bisaya changed the way you connect with the community?
That's such a good question. I think learning Bisaya has, if anything, helped me just to show a little bit of how much I respect and care for Filipinos, Tabueños specifically, and just all Bisaya people, because I really do think that Bisaya is a beautiful language, that the Philippines does carry a really beautiful culture. And so getting to participate in that, I feel like has, again, just made me much more of an insider to your guys' culture. And it's also just humbled me to show me that there are cultures that are beautiful in way different ways than my own. And so it's given me a much bigger perspective on the big picture of the cultural differences that you can find across the world, but specifically just the beauty of Filipino culture.
So what advice would you give to other foreigners trying to learn a local language there?
It's a great question. I would say, first of all, it's worth it. It really is worth it. It can be hard work, and it does take dedication. It takes a lot of time, but it for sure is worth it, because being able to speak the local language will take you so much deeper in your relationships and friendships with people all across the city that will help you to connect in a deeper way than you could otherwise. So don't just rely on English. Philippines is a phenomenal English-speaking country, which is great in the short term, being able to come here as a foreigner and converse in English and accomplish all that you need to. But there's so much that I promise you really would want to experience in Bisaya.
Yeah.
And so I would encourage any foreigner that's spending a significant amount of time in the Philippines to learn the local language so that you can connect deeper. I would also say, forget the one-to-one translation between your native language and Bisaya, and just try to learn from the ground up. Start at square one with Bisaya and just begin a new language learning process for yourself in the local language. But besides that, I think have fun with it. There are so many people in the Philippines that are ready and willing to help you in your language learning process. And so take advantage of that. Take advantage of the kindness that Filipinos have built into their culture to help you, to welcome you. Just enjoy the process. It's a really fun process. I would say one of the most beneficial language learning strategies for me, it's based on a process called the growing participator approach. But the idea is that instead of memorizing vocabulary words and then translating it in your head and then being able to speak it, just begin as if you are an infant learning to speak Bisaya in the Philippines. And so have someone who's a native speaker to help you, but instead of learning that paper is papel, and then every time you think of paper, I want to say it in Bisaya, I have to think paper, papel, then I can speak it. Just learn it as papel. Learn the table as la mesa. Don't learn table equals.
Don't translate, just learn.
Exactly. Yes.
How would you rate your Bisaya skill since
Good
you
question.
came here in Davao?
I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, 1
1 to
being,
10.
I mean, I know a couple of words, 10 being I'm completely fluent just like you guys.
Yep.
I would say at this point, I'm maybe a 6.
You're now 6. That's
Maybe a
good.
6. So a lot of improvement over a year.
How'd na ka?
But getting there. Trying.
Where do you usually use the language, like the Bisaya? Where do you usually speak?
This is a fun thing. Well, I use it a lot for one. Every day I use my Bisaya, and so I think for one thing, students especially, but most people in Davao are proficient in English, and so if I wanted to, I could rely on my English to get by, but it's a lot more fun, a lot more effective to use Bisaya, and so I find myself using Bisaya for anything from going to the grocery store, asking directions, directing a taxi, to speaking on a much deeper level with close friends of mine. And so,
that's nice.
Yeah, whenever I have a deeper conversation where I'm actually connecting with somebody that I know or somebody that I'm getting to know, I like to use Bisaya in order to allow them to express more fully the ideas that are on their heart. So.
What are the changes that you've experienced, from learning the language to now having the knowledge of 6 out of 10 of the Bisaya language? What were the differences from back then, a year ago, and then now?
Yeah.
Actually learning the language. For you being here in Davao.
I hear a lot more people talking about me behind my back now.
Oh, you're now realizing they're talking about you.
And so I like to usually keep that a secret. So
Okay.
people know that I understand what they're saying.
So they think you don't understand what they're talking, but now you understand.
For whatever reason, at the mall, when I'm on an escalator, a lot of times there will be people right behind me and I'll understand exactly what they're saying about them. And so sometimes I'll turn around and I'll start a conversation with them and decide to let them know.
Oh, yeah, and then they show up.
They usually just get very surprised and then either start laughing and then walk away or get kind of embarrassed.
The interview with Mr. Matney revealed one truth. Learning a language is more than memorizing rules. It begins in people, and it comes alive in moments of hesitation, laughter, correction, and connection. Learning Bisaya is not about sounding perfect. It is about being present. You can form the right sentences, yet still miss the meaning if you overlook the tone, the pause, or the unspoken rules that shape interaction. Dili na ni grammar o vocabulary lang, kay ang pinulongan adunay buot o pagbati. Mason Matney's journey shows us that real fluency grows from vulnerability, from asking for help, making mistakes, and allowing the community to teach you what books cannot. In the end, language learning is an act of relationship. When we learn to listen before we speak, to understand before we respond, language stops being a barrier and becomes what it was always meant to be. A bridge that brings people closer, not just a skill to be mastered. From the classroom to the marketplace, from the highlands of Sarangani to conversations that cross oceans, language lives in every corner of Mindanao. It carries our laughter and our lessons, our memories and our identities, shaping how we learn, how we teach, and how we belong. Across this episode, we've seen language at work, in indigenous classrooms where the mother tongue keeps culture alive, in foreign learners discovering that fluency means more than grammar, and everyday exchanges where words become bridges between peoples, not walls. But as we move forward, shaped by globalization, new policies, and modern systems of education, we must continue to ask, how do we uphold English's global reach without silencing the voice of our local languages? How do we ensure that progress does not come at the cost of identity? Because when a language fades, we don't just lose words, we lose stories, ways of thinking, and a vision of the world that only that language can express. Its wisdom, its rhythm, its soul. Mindanao has always been home to many tongues, and that diversity is not a weakness. It is our strength. It deepens our understanding, enriches our stories, and keeps our communities connected across differences. So let us speak our languages with pride. Let us teach them, protect them, and pass them on in classrooms, in homes, and in the everyday conversations that shape our future. Gikan sa pinulongan, padulong sa kalibutan. I am Tubo, and this has been KatuTUBOng Mindanao. Padayon sa pagpamati, padayon sa pagpanalipod sa pinulungan, kay diha sa matagpulong, buhi ang kultura o buhi ang Mindanao.